Social media is so exciting that I think 10 minutes would not be enough to talk about it. Well, at least some of my colleagues, they took the burden yesterday and today and talked about social media, but I have a lot to talk about too. Many use many use Facebook, Twitter, and weblogs to be able to communicate with relatives, friends, and even find more friends. It's a wonderful world when you can always be in touch with everyone you know and everyone you love. Know about them, talk to them, felicitate them on happy occasions, condole them on sad occasions, feel that you are always beside each other in every moment. Some even anonymously join these social networks because they don't have the courage to exist as they are in public, but love to communicate with others in the dreamy way they like. I can tell you my father is 80 years old and Facebook maybe has saved his life, since if it wasn't for Facebook, he had to stay home alone, and being alone would have destroyed him. At least mentally. It is nearly impossible for all the family to go to Facebook and don't find him on the chat. A short chat from everywhere, a little information from everywhere is keeping him cheer and alive. He's able to communicate with all his friends, family members everywhere in the world. Discussing anything to be a ban or boon depends on our point of view, intentions, way we think of that issue. For example, a knife would be a boon if used for cutting a bread, while to use it for murdering a person would be a ban. So we can consider social media to be two faces of a coin. It would depend who is using the social media and how the social media is used. I think my introduction is a brief of what I would like to say. Since the beginning of history, mankind was eager for living in communities and communicating with each other. From drawing and writing on cave walls and sending messages through smoke till emailing, messaging, tweeting, Facebooking, blogging, all in all, the purpose was and still is communicating and sending information and expressing ideas. From the day Persian Empire started post, at that time it was called chapar, by fast horse riders who could take a message from east to west of the empire within a week, till nowadays, where a message could be sent around the globe by just a click. The purpose was and is still communicating and sending information. About 100 years ago, the first newspaper was published in my country with an editorial where the editor-in-chief promised the readers that he would unveil all secrets and incidents within a maximum period of a week. People had to wait a week to be informed about what's happening in the country. I think the same issues would have existed in all other countries, but nowadays you would be informed about what's happening in the globe in just a moment. What happened? Well, everyone agrees that technology is playing the biggest role. Another thing also happened. Previously, only rich or influential people were able to reach information, since information were costly. They were able to interpret information the way they found proper to others. But nowadays, it's very cheap, approximately free of charge to get the information. But is it really free of charge? Of course not. Nothing is for free. Every network has its targets, and to reach the purpose, it interprets the information it has the way it wants. We all know that you can narrate a story in different ways just to reach your target. It depends who is sponsoring the network. Of course, who pays money has the right to choose what goes on the net. Same applies to people. how can you be sure of the truth? How can you get the information you want correct and uninterpreted? The best way is if you have a liable friend there, but can you have a liable friend everywhere in the world? If I was to ask this question 20 years ago, the answer would have been nonsense. It's impossible to have a friend in every country. Some news agencies used to spend huge amounts of money and establish offices all around the world, but still they were never able to get the truth from everywhere. Nowadays, with the existence of Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, YouTube, and other social networks, you can have friends everywhere. Friends who can be your journalists around the world and tell you exactly what's happening in every point of the globe. Moreover, groups who have common interests can join each other and inform each other of what's happening or what they plan to do in just moments. Everyone knows that the latest revolutions in Arab countries would have never happened if it wasn't for Facebook and Twitter. All arrangements were done through social media. All movements and protests were coordinated through social media. The news about what's happening was published through the social media. If people didn't have access to social media, they would have never been able to inform the world what was really happening. And of course, owners of costly media, mainly governments and rich, were able to interpret news the way they wanted. Nowadays, social media is even more powerful than governments. Everyone, everywhere, is able to start his media with just some clicks. Truth could be revealed through this media. On the other side, the social media is not used just to send true information on the wire. As with normal media, some are misusing this media for their own purposes. They even hire staff to write their own version of information on the net. In some cases, so much news by proxy writers are distributed around the net that you would even believe a lie, though you know it's a lie. It doesn't apply only on political issues, but even to economical issues. For example, lately, rivals of Apple company made a big campaign on the net, convincing users that if you upgrade your new iPhone 5 to OS 7, then it would become waterproof, just like Sony Xperia Z. And for the Sorrow, the propaganda was so strong that some even believed it and upgraded their newly bought iPhone 5 to OS 7 and checked it to become if it became waterproof or not. You may all know the answer. Of course, their iPhone 5 crashed. You see how influential the social media could be, and how could it be used? Nowadays, most of huge companies use social media to promote their sales and convince users of social media to buy their products. Their adverts are filling the media with mass incorrect information, and for the Sorrow, they are able to influence a lot of people in the market of more than 1 billion users. If companies can succeed selling their products, then governments, politicians, religious sects, racists, terrorists, and others can also succeed. Most of the terrorist groups are attracting members through social media. Some even are using the social media to fool others, especially children, for sexual purposes or other purposes. So you see, to judge over the social media as a ban or boon, you should determine first how, why, and who is using this media. So at the last, I have to say, there should be some rules, ethics to be able to rely on social media, else it would just be considered as unreliable information you can use on your own as a professional journalist. Thank you.